Hello class. We'll continue on with Chapter 3 now, looking further into nonverbal cues, specifically those that alert us to deception. Often in social interactions, people may be more or less truthful, and they may have a hidden agenda. It is in our interest to look out for cheats and liars, so we don't get duped and we don't lose resources. We tend to use nonverbal cues in detecting deception. So we don't always pay attention to exactly what someone says, but also how it is that they say it. We assume that people will have difficulty controlling certain nonverbal cues when they are lying. The cues we use are often facial expression, body posture, touching, eye contact, and a host of other things to indicate the person may or may not be telling the truth. So we'll watch here an FBI expert indicate what he uses as forms of lie detection. See if some of those things that he uses were ideas that you have in terms of how you try to spot a liar.
Some things that you can look for to find the truth. And we brought in a polygraph examiner to put 5 people to the test and show you how to be a human lie detector.
Did you ever steal anything valued at more than $10, $25?
No.
Are you basically a dishonest person?
Basically a dishonest person?
This polygraph examiner and retired FBI agent doesn't need a machine to pinpoint a liar.
The eyes are a window to the soul. You can see right through them.
What do they expect from me? That's a good question.
Take a close look at this guy's eyes. Before Jason answers, he looks up to the right.
Looking up in the right means you're making up something. You're visually picturing something that's never happened, That's a lie.
Up to the left, you're remembering something. Only problem, it's the opposite for lefties, like Jason, so he's telling the truth. Shifty eyes could also indicate dishonesty.
The moment they complete that lie, they look right back at me because they're trying to see whether I'm buying what they're selling.
Bill Brown says all of the people we interviewed are basically honest. Look at how comfortably they sit in their chair. Liars may rub their neck, tap their fingers, look at their watch, all signs of nervousness.
Or they'll position something between you and them. Even if it's only a book or a coffee cup. When you see something like it, why is that? It's just getting a barrier or something between you and me.
Someone telling a fib may lean back in their chair, sit to the side, and keep their arms crossed and hands tightly folded in their lap.
Did you ever put any false information on any form?
On any form? No. What about people who try to change the conversation?
It makes almost everybody a little bit uncomfortable lie. So if they can say something else in a tangential way and get you to accept that, then they don't have to lie. Pretty good indication.
Pretty insightful, and Bill says liars will most likely...
So that gives us an idea of what someone who is a professional uses to cue into deception. So to break down the 5 ways we try to detect deception, one thing that was mentioned by the expert was facial expressions. Looking at facial expressions can often cue us into whether someone is trying to use deception, particularly micro-expressions. Micro-expressions are quick changes in facial expressions that indicate an intent to deceive. So let's have a look at Jimmy Kimmel Live. He used his own lie detector with kids to try to see if he could basically make them miserable, but also if he could get kids to lie. Kids are pretty transparent in this, so let's have a look.
So I took it upon myself to share that lesson with the next generation of professional athletes, kids, by hooking them up to a fake lie detector and driving them crazy. And here's how that went. Well, hello. How are you?
Good.
Good. Thank you for coming. I'm Officer Jimmy. This is the Truth Fairy. The Truth Fairy is going to hook you up to a machine right now. Do you know what a lie detector is?
Yeah.
A lie detector is a machine that can tell if you're lying or telling the truth. So you must always tell the truth, okay?
Okay.
All right. And then we're going to put this on your head, and we'll be all ready to go. Wow. That's right. He's got more gel than you, truth
Yeah,
teller.
yeah.
Do you gel your hair?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Let's start with your name. What is your name?
Blake,
Okay, very good. How old are you, Blake?
7 years old.
7 years old. What grade are you in?
First grade.
Do you like school?
Yeah.
Do you like school?
No.
Why don't you like it?
I'm bad at science.
You're bad at science?
Yeah.
You don't like science?
No.
It's boring.
Yeah.
What courses do you like?
Math.
You like math?
Yeah.
Okay. What's 8 plus 8?
16.
14. Have you ever peed in the swimming pool?
Did you catch it? The quick shifts in facial expression indicated to us that the child might be lying. So microexpressions are facial expressions that change rapidly, indicating to us that the person is either having an underlying emotion that they're trying to change or trying to pass off a certain emotion as the truth. Also, there are interchannel discrepancies or inconsistencies between cues that might indicate lying. So if a person is smiling but tapping their foot nervously and trying to indicate to you that they're feeling fine, you might say that those two channels of nonverbal behavior do not match up and the person is not telling the truth. Also, paralanguage. Paralanguage is not using the content of speech, but other aspects of speech such as pitch, sentence repairs, stuttering, starting and restarting sentences, pausing, that indicate to us that the person might be telling a lie. Often when the person tries to repair sentences and stutters over things, we think that the person is trying to deceive us. On your own time, you can see that I have some videos of politicians, and you might want to take a look and see if any of the paralanguage indicates to you that the person is trying to lie, that the underlying motive is one of deception. Eye contact is another form that we use to detect deception, and that is people who lie often blink more frequently or may make unusually high or low amounts of eye contact, trying to convince the person that they are telling the truth with high levels of eye contact, or trying to evade questions or evade the uncomfortableness with low levels of eye contact. The fifth and final way that we try to detect deception is through the use of exaggerated facial expressions. Often, when people are lying, they make emotions bigger in terms of facial expressions than what they feel underneath, and we can often detect this. So I have a little clip from the Frenemies movie, Mean Girls, where you can see some exaggerated facial expressions among girls who are supposed to be friends.
Lip gloss.
Hey, good job, Africa.
Thanks. Oh, Katie's blushing. Oh my god, you totally have a crush on that guy. No, I don't. That's why you wanted to join the mathletes.
Mathletes? You hate math.
Oh, look how red she is. You love him, and he totally complimented you. That is so fetch. Gretchen, stop trying to make fetch happen. It's not going to happen.
You can continue on with the video yourself, but you can see the amount of facial expression and emotion that goes into things is probably more than the actual underlying emotion that these girls feel. And often we try to look at exaggerated facial expressions as an indication of deception. So we're going to move on now to trying to understand other people's behavior in terms of attributions. In terms of attributions, there are two main theories we're going to talk about. The first is Jones and Davis's theory of correspondent inference. According to Jones and Davis, when we make an inference or an attribution about other people's behaviors, we do three things. But first, we're going to listen to a little bit. Has a song indicating he isn't saying that the girl is a gold digger, but most of the evidence he gives you is actually indicating the opposite. So what exactly constitutes a gold digger? What does that mean for a woman who is labeled as such? So looking at the three aspects of Jones and Davis theory, we can see if we're going to decide if a woman is a gold digger, we really look at three things. First is the motive for the behavior. Does the woman seem driven to find love and just happen to find someone rich? Or does her primary motive in dating seem mostly to be to date men with money? If we perceive the motive for her behavior to be money-driven, then we're going to be more likely to make an attribution that she is a gold digger. Non-common effects are effects that can be caused by one specific factor but not others. So for instance, if a woman is educated and very wealthy, and then she says, oh, I really just want to meet someone who's also very wealthy and educated, we might say, oh, well, you know, there's really just sort of, you know, a host of reasons why she might be doing this. But if the effects can be caused by only one specific factor, we see her pursuit of wealth as really only having one cause and one factor, and not a host of other explanations, we'll be more likely to make that attribution. And also actions low in social desirability. We tend to pay more attention to negative information than positive. So being a gold digger in society is generally considered a negative attribute, and so we'll pay more attention to behaviors that seem to indicate that the woman might be interested more in money than in love. However, there is another theory of how we make attributions. Kelly's theory of causal attributions say actually we make sort of three assessments of people and their underlying motivations. And there's a video here that will maybe go into a much deeper explanation. But basically, with Kelly's causal attribution theory, we focus on consensus. So one, we say, do other people have similar problems, or is it just this one person? Is this person being foreclosed on, and it's because they, you know, haven't managed their finances well, or do other people seem to be having this problem? Is it a societal problem, and all these people are now getting foreclosed on because of predatory practices from the banks? Consistency, does the person have this trouble often? Does the person have trouble, say, across many of their classes? And when they tell you they're failing, you kind of think, oh, maybe it has something to do with them. Or do they do well in most of their classes, and just this one is giving them trouble? And distinctiveness. Does the person have this trouble with similar situations, or just this one? We'll use these three elements to